Amir Khan has been known throughout his whole career, drops this left hand, he invites the right hand over the top. What's this right hand come? There it is there. Some people might say that Terence Crawford should be at the top. I wouldn't disagree with that.
He can't use his speed from too far out and forcing things because he will run into shots. If he tries to force things from there, Crawford's going to step back and make him pay.
Hello and welcome to No Filter Boxing. This week, we break down the WBO welterweight title fight between reigning champion Terence Crawford and Britain's Amir Khan. Joining me, a couple of guys who know a thing or two about boxing, former featherweight world champion Barry Jones and Tyson Fury's trainer Ben Davison. They'll be looking at the styles of both boxers to assess their chances. Ben, I'll come to you first. I've never really looked at Amir Khan as being a big welterweight. He's been, height and reach-wise, he's had to give away in the past. Chris Algieri certainly springs to mind when he fought him. But this time against Terence Crawford, he's boxing someone who's more or less the same size. He's been down at lightweight, won 3 world titles. What's your take on it?
Well, I think with Terence Crawford, with this fight in particular, I think what's key for Khan is that he's going to have to match Terence Crawford's boxing IQ because physicalities alone are not going to do it. Speed alone is not going to do it. Size alone wouldn't do it against Terence Crawford. This is going to be a match about IQs, and it's going to be important for Khan to match Terence Crawford's, which is on a very high level.
And Barry, on paper, would you say this is Amir Khan's toughest assignment?
I think you've got to maybe say Saul Canelo Alvarez is probably his toughest because he's given a lot of natural strength as well as ability, maybe, to be honest. But I think what Ben was saying with Amir, he's never been on box before. He's always been beat by guys who got physical with him and punch when he punched. Now he's in against a guy, as Ben spotted perfectly, has maybe a better IQ and technically and physically and even speed-wise in single punches is just as fast as Amir. So that's going to be an obstacle he's not used to or probably never encountered before.
Yeah, it's a tough fight for Amir. OK, I've been looking at both styles recently. I've pulled out some stuff, some positives and some negatives. So let's have a look at Amir Khan first. His positives, for me, are his speed of hand, his movement and his ability to box at distance. Let's have a look at him here. Very fast hands. He's always on the move. He hits, he moves, holds the centre of the ring very well. So look at his hand speed here. He does all the right things at distance, keeps out the way. This is against Chris Algieri, who's giving away height and reach, as I said before. Moves round. The movement's good. The boxing at range is good. Working well with the jab. I think this is the kind of stuff that he's going to have to produce against Terence Crawford. What do you think?
Well, it is, and I think what you said was discipline. I think that's the real important feature here for Amir Khan because he throws in combinations, and that's where he generates the speed, and that's where he's probably faster than maybe him and only Manny Pacquiao are on that sort of level of speed for in combination punches. But it's not overdoing it, and we've seen it against Algieri, which was one of his earlier fights, one of his first fights with Virgil Hunter as his trainer. He had that discipline of only throwing 3 punches, then moving. I think that's very important. When he tries to throw 5 and 6 and 7, which has been so effective for him throughout his career. At this level, they throw when you throw, and then he's in trouble. And
Ben, he'll need that speed as well, won't he, against someone like Crawford?
For me, I think what's more important for Khan is actually what he does before he punches and what he does after he punches. Right. That's going to be a big difference and a big factor in the fight.
Now, we know Crawford can box as an orthodox or a southpaw. So let's have a look at Khan here against a southpaw. This is when he boxed Louis Collazo. Does some good things here, works well with the right hand, moving around a little bit more to his right, so he's walking onto the left hand. That he's certainly got to watch out for. But here, he did OK against Collazo.
He did. I thought it was one of his better performances. And with a southpaw as well, it's always hard to establish the jab, but Amir, his foot not in the great position there, but most times he had his foot on the outside, was throwing the jab over the right lead of Collazo and doubling up with the right hand, which is quite important as well.
And catches him Ben there with a nice right hand, puts him down.
He does, yeah. Collazo boxes with a low front hand, though, and Crawford, as a southpaw, doesn't tend to do that too much. He'll often use his lead glove to control his opponent's lead glove, which will stop Khan setting up his offence off of his lead hand, which he does like to do. So there's another obstacle there for Khan to have to outthink and manoeuvre around.
But we know Amir Khan is vulnerable in certain contests. So let's have a look at a couple of the negatives, unfortunately. But let's take a look here. I think he holds his feet a little bit too long in certain spells in this contest, and that's when he actually gets caught holding his feet, flat-footed. Got to watch out for that, hasn't he, against Terence Crawford?
Well, most definitely, because what Amir Khan's never been able to do is fight on the inside. He'd never done it from the amateurs, never developed it as a professional, and that's the problem he has. So when he does hold his feet in close, he doesn't work. Yeah. But that gives Terence Crawford, who again, as Ben's already said, has a great boxing IQ to let his hands go and to find the gaps for the punches.
And Ben, this is one of the problems he has. If Crawford decides to box as an orthodox boxer, Amir Khan has been known throughout his whole career, drops this left hand, he invites the right hand over the top. Let's have a look at it here. What's this right hand come? There it is there. And he just gets caught time and again because of that low left hand. This has been a fault of his throughout the whole of his career, dropping that left hand, inviting the right hand over the top.
Yeah, Khan often has a habit of when he's moving to his left, he'll bring his back foot round, his feet come in line, which also leads you to lean over your front foot a little bit higher. You'll see it here. If you rewind this clip a little bit, as Khan's moving round to his left, he's creeping his back foot round to his left first, which leads him to lean over his front foot with the low left hand is a recipe for disaster. So, as you can see there, if you look at his back foot there in line with it, which will lead him to lean over his front foot a little bit with his low left hand, spells for disaster. So
great observation. This obviously was against Canelo, a much bigger man, Barry, but nevertheless, this is what can happen, the ultimate knockout here.
And also, again, there's that trouble that he's had with guys, him, Danny Garcia, guys who become physical with him, who throw when he throws. I think that's very important for Khan, when he holds his feet. I'd never noticed the feet before. It's a great idea.
Yeah, great.
Also, when your feet, you're not squaring your feet up. You're going like on a line where you have no balance. Yeah. You can absorb a shot. It's actually, for someone of his high level, it's a terrible flaw. And again, if Crawford has seen that and his team have seen that, that's the only thing you've got to look for.
Thanks, guys. Next, we'll hear from Amir Khan, who's hoping to be the first man to get the better of Terence Crawford.
I've always wanted to fight the best. And if you look, I've always fought the best guys. In the last 10 years, I fought for world titles, for the top guys. My last 10 years have been crazy. I think, on paper, this is an easier fight than the Canelo fight. Canelo was just too big and too strong. Whereas this fight, you know, against Crawford, Crawford's a guy who's coming up from light welterweight to welterweight. I don't think he's ever fought anyone like me, or as skillful as me. So I just feel that it's not an easy task, it's an easier task than the Canelo fight.
So, can you show me now in the ring what Amir Khan has got to do to win this fight?
We can try.
Yep.
Right then, Ben. Amir Khan, the speed, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think it's important early on that Khan's got a tendency to start fast, which I think could actually work against him in this fight because Crawford being such a good counter-puncher. Crawford usually likes to take a round or two. He'll find his distance off his opponent's gloves and look for his opponent to make some mistakes. And so I think it's important that Khan, while in his states, I think it's important that he doesn't hold his feet. It's very easy for somebody to find their distance if I'm flat-footed. Yeah. So I think for Khan it's important that he's always adjusting his distance, not always staying the same distance. If he creeps in, take half a step back out, see if he can get a nibble off of Crawford.
So what about Crawford's southpaw? Because Crawford likes, you see Crawford, he brings that foot on the outside, don't give you the escape route, and also gets the jab. And also Crawford has a massive long reach, so how does Khan counteract that when Crawford takes a step?
This situation we often see it about the foot being on the outside. Now it's a lot easier for the person coming forward to get their foot on the outside. Yeah. So if I'm the one coming forward and I'm pushing you back, I can always push you back, drifting round. So I think I see it being that Khan will be the one coming forward, but he doesn't want to get into the situation where he's just pressing and forcing for his foot to be on the outside because he can then walk in onto shots. So like I'm saying, if he is coming forward, if Khan's pressing forward, I think it's important that he takes half a little step back as well, gives lots of different looks.
Just to keep Crawford always guessing and
making it hard for Crawford to find his distance.
Now what about Khan? Obviously, he, as a combination puncher, he's one of the fastest, if not the fastest in the world right now, and has been since he turned pro. So he has to throw in bunches, because off the mark, Crawford's just as quick, if not quicker, and his timing's probably a little bit better. So he throws three. So I don't know you see it, but I see it as Khan throwing, not 5 or 6, but 3. 1, 2, 3. Coming off, 1, 2, and then going back out straight away.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I think he's going to have to take his time, Khan. He's going to have to set things up and grow into the fight because, like I say, if he rushes into and forces things early on, Crawford's that good of a counterpuncher, I think he could walk onto shots.
But with single shots over Amir Khan, I think, because he does tend to drop that left hand to throw it a little bit. And also, I've noticed with Amir Khan, as good as he is, those combinations, those bursts of punches, put people on the back foot straight away and allows him momentum to do work, which also gets him in trouble sometimes as well, let's be honest. But the single shots, like you want to work your way in, I think you're right, but the single shots, Crawford was such a good time. Wouldn't he just count that every time? If Khan
he could do, but that's where Khan's got to raise his boxing IQ. He's got to throw shots to draw something off of Crawford, or he's got to show him somewhere, hit somewhere else. He can't just come lunging forward and throwing 3 or 4 shots in a straight row. So I think it's very important what Khan does before that for him to be able to throw a combination. He can't just, at this level, just step forward with a combination. He's going to have to adjust his distance. He's going to have to change his tempo.
So
his speed.
Plenty of feints.
Plenty of feints. He's going to have to keep taking his head off of the centre. Yep. And once he finishes his shots, it's important what he does after as well, because Khan being so quick, he has a tendency to sometimes he can just pull out and he gets away with it. He can't afford to do that at this level. He's going to have to throw and have an exit every time and know where he's going to finish and where he's going to end up.
So does he come out low, or does he just come out?
Depending, obviously, he'll assess that as the fight. Low is safe, so if he throws and he rolls out or he slip and pivots off and comes off at a different exit, that's going to be a key thing for him because Crawford's being such a good counterpuncher.
Guys, can I just say, what about Khan going forward? Will it favour him going forward, or will he have to mix it up and stay on the back foot? How do you see that? Do you see Khan on the front foot or him just hanging back?
That's a very good point because Crawford likes to reset people. He'll get himself into a situation, he'll get into a glove battle with a front glove, and if he doesn't see anything, he'll just step off and reset. And it's very important that Khan doesn't fall into Crawford's rhythm. That's a very important thing.
And I do think that Khan has to be, not the aggressor as such, but has to lead first. I know Crawford is a good counterpuncher, but it's hard to counterpunch when a guy throws in 3s and 4s. So even though Khan, I don't think he should get carried away and throw too many. That's where I think where Virgil Hunter's kept him nice and calm and relaxed. We talked about discipline earlier, and that's going to be important for Amir Khan, where he's on his toes, as Ben said, plenty of feints, and he comes in with the 3 shots, but then takes a different angle. But I'd go again. I wouldn't move away like a Crawford wouldn't. I'd go again, and then I would move away. Because I think if you go 1, 2, 3 and take a spin, I think Crawford's such a clever fighter, he will move and adapt with you. So if you throw again before Crawford has a chance to adapt, then you get your escape route. And don't get carried away with, I've scored 5, I can score 6, 7, 8. Just do that, be happy with that, and then really reset and go in another phase.
And Ben, are the early rounds important, do you think?
They are important. Like I say, with Khan's amateur pedigree, he's got a habit of starting fast. And I don't think that coming out too quick and forcing things is a good idea because he, like I say, he could walk onto traps that Crawford will set. Sometimes Crawford will leave you the obvious, make you throw that, and make you pay for throwing that.
See, if you were Crawford's coach, would you be sending him out as an orthodox or southpaw against Khan?
From what I've seen, for an example, when he boxed Gamboa, very quick hands, he adapted to southpaw. He made that adaptation to southpaw. Benavidez was a very good counterpuncher. He made that adaptation to southpaw. I think he does feel more comfortable, and I think with Khan, being an orthodox, I think the speed, he would like to switch to southpaw, like to use his front hand to control distance, which now creates more room for him to see what Khan's going to throw. It gives himself more time to be able to react, and be able to adjust and make those adaptations.
The only good thing I would say about Khan is he has such a hard rhythm, unusual rhythm, that it's hard to read at times. Yeah. But what you do, you make him, with that front foot with Crawford, you make him work hard. Yeah. But Amir Khan will start fast. I think I sort of agree with Ben.
Start fast?
I think he has to start fast. I do agree. I understand what Ben says, don't overcommit early, but I think he has to start fast, has to, if he can build up a lead, and then try and hold on to it down the stretch, because I think he will be physically the more tired fighter out of the two down the stretch, unless, of course, he can catch Terence Crawford. Yeah.
Now let's take a look at the pound-for-pound rankings. We've got Vasyl Lomachenko at the top. Guys, do you agree with that?
I do, for me.
Three-weight world champion in something like 12 fights.
Yeah.
Doesn't get... Although he's been beaten once.
Yeah, he has. And I just said to Barry there, it's interesting why he hasn't come back and had that rematch yet, but maybe he will do. Maybe it's on the agenda. Maybe he's not interested in it.
Some people might say that Terence Crawford should be at the top. I wouldn't disagree with that.
I think Crawford is a phenomenal fighter, but you could even argue that Alvarez goes above him. I think, you know, could you go and look on who they've boxed and who they've been up against? I think Crawford's boxed some really fantastic fighters. Alvarez, even though I thought he lost twice to Golovkin, he still beat him on paper. And you just got to think, you know, maybe that is a pound-for-pound fighter, whereas Crawford hasn't really boxed anyone in the pound-for-pound rankings, if these are the ones we're looking at.
Yeah. Here's a fight for you. If rumours are true that Mayweather comes back, fancy his chances against Crawford?
Well,
that would be some fight.
It's an interesting fight, and obviously the problem is Mayweather's definitely up there, one of the best that's ever done it, but I wouldn't like to see Mayweather make a comeback now, and I'm one of his biggest fans, just because, you know, he's left a fantastic legacy. I wouldn't want to see anything changed on that, and let these men have their time, you know.
One fighter I really admire on there is number 4, Alexander Usyk, undisputed cruiserweight champ. Thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think he's fantastic, and he's been a revelation to go in every champion's backyard to win a title is something that maybe never been done before, to unify the title, but all of them be away from home. And that'll sink in for a little while. He's had no home comforts. Yeah. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And the way he just walks through people, he'll either box you and confuse you, or he just blocks your punches like he did with Bellew and wear you down. Yeah. He's been great. But to move up to heavyweight is maybe, well, we think it might be at the highest level. Those 3 at the top might be just a step too far.
And Ben, that list could look totally different if Golovkin had got one of those decisions against Alvarez, because I thought he won at least one of the fights.
Yeah, and I know, obviously Tyson, I believe that Tyson should be on that list with the win over Deontay Wilder, but, you know, there's if, buts and maybes, but I'm sure that once Tyson cleans up the heavyweight division, he'll put himself right back in there.
You could even argue, without kind of smacking it off Ben, Joshua, the quality that he's boxed. Or I know you would laugh that they haven't been quality, but they've still been the top 3, 4, 5, 6, top 10 heavyweights in the world, and a regular. So you could argue there. I don't think he belongs above any of these guys. But that's where you'd have it. For me, it's Inouye could be a lot higher.
Yeah, I'm going to say, in terms of the little men, this fella here is phenomenal, isn't he?
Oh, Inouye, for 17-0, I think he's something like 16 knockouts or something like that. The guy is just a phenomenal. He just really is.
And you've already said about Tyson Fury, so British boxers. Who are we looking at from a British point of view that could get onto that list, you think?
Yeah, obviously I've argued the point for Tyson, and obviously I'd like to see Billy Joe get himself back active, maybe get
Anthony
a fight
Joshua?
one of these two. Yeah.
I think most definitely. I think, you know, I think the fact that we have like 2 of the top 3 heavyweights in the world in the UK is a fantastic achievement. I mean, I think they're 1 and 2. And you can do whoever you think who's top 1, they're 1 and 2, and they're 2 want to meet. And if they were to meet, then they go in the top 5 of this division for sure, this pound-for-pound list.
Well, it's exciting times indeed, isn't it, fellas? We've looked at the strengths and weaknesses of Amir Khan, but now let's take a look at Terence Crawford. A very talented boxer, obviously. He's won 3 world titles at 3 different weights, down at lightweight. You must have been a big admirer, Barry.
I've seen most of his fights, and I've worked most of his fights, and he's just a phenomenal talent. The way that he adapts in the ring as well. Not just for me, he's the best switcher of stances since Marvin Hagler. I think he's fantastic. You don't even notice it sometimes that he just switches from southpaw to orthodox, and just the way he dictates everything with a nice long jab. He's patient in his work as well. It's very hard to find flaws.
Yeah, around 30, 31. Do you think he's in his prime now, Ben?
He seems that way from the performances and his profile and all the rest of it. It looks that way, and I'm looking forward to the fight.
OK, so let's have a look at Mr. Crawford. These are his strengths. I think his main strengths are, 1, his jab. Now, he can jab as an orthodox boxer here. He's got a great jab. Let's have a look at him here. This is against a taller man, Jose Benavidez, his last contest. Working well with the jab here on the outside, doubling it up. But then he boxes as a southpaw here, and he's, like I say, he's giving away height and reach, but he's still out-jabbing his opponent. Barry, that takes something.
It does, but 2 things. Timing is everything in boxing, and he has great timing and judgment of distance, but he sits on that back foot. But what's important with Crawford is the front foot and the front hand work in unison together. So he comes in and out with that front foot and that front hand together. He doesn't sort of slide in first and throw the punches. He doesn't try and come in behind the jab and sort of double step it, if you like. They come in together, so he's almost like probing.
Yeah.
He's, even with the solid punches, he's probing to see how you're going to react, because he's sitting on that back foot.
Yeah.
Wait, if something comes back, he can evade and then come back with something more solid.
And Ben, his balance is very good, isn't it?
His balance is phenomenal, and he's very good at manipulating the opponent and making them do what he wants them to do. Especially, like I said before, when he switches to a southpaw, he uses front glove to control the opponent's front glove. And sometimes he'll go from this look to give a full guard look, which will cause the opponent to start with their lead hand, and he's drawn that from them. He's manipulated them to do what he wants them to do, and he'll counter it. He's a very, very clever boxer.
Excellent. So let's have a look at some more positives from Terence Crawford. I've also found that his ability to switch attack from body to head. Let's have a look at it here. He works well here to the body, then he switches to the head with the hook. Didn't quite catch his opponent there, but again, look, he goes on the front foot, uses the jab very well, but switches the attack against the taller man. And Barry does this very well, switching the attack.
He does, and what he does is he goes through the gears really quick. So there's no rushing in his work. But so he'll tap with the jab again. He double stab with that jab. He comes forward, and then once he sees the gap, it's almost like a break to check, and then he unloads really fast. So that acceleration of pace in his work is something that's hard to counter.
And fast combinations, Ben.
Yeah, when somebody's been countered over and over and over, as Crawford's a fantastic counter puncher, he'll lead them into not letting their hands go. And the moment you don't let your hands go with Crawford and you start reverting to a full guard, you're going to allow him to use his punch variety.
And as we've seen there, he's a great finisher. He finishes the job.
He has a mean streak about him. You don't think in a pure boxer, which he is, fundamentally, very few have a mean streak about them. He has that. He has that mean streak of an aggressive fighter, even though he's more of a counter puncher. Yeah. And I think that sort of stands him alone, or stands him above most others around.
One other thing that I noticed about Crawford, he's very good at keeping his foot on the outside. So he's basically controlling the direction of movement of his opponent, bringing his opponent onto the left hand. So let's have a look at it here. Watch the feet. The feet, he just on the outside there, as you can see. Balance is very good, but here we're just highlighting it. His foot's on the outside. This makes Benavidez move round then to Terence Crawford's left and bringing him onto that left hand. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, it's one thing that's very important to me when I've thought about this fight is Khan's feet as well.
Yeah.
I think it's very important that Khan regularly adjusts his distance to not allow Crawford to find his distance, and changing the tempo of his feet as well to frustrate Crawford from finding his timing.
And Barry, just looking from this arrow here, so we know that now Benavidez, because that foot's on the outside of Crawford, it's going to make Benavidez go round to Benavidez' right and bringing it onto the left hand of...
It's perfect. It's perfect example
Crawford.
what Ben said earlier about he manipulates the opponent to force him to do what he wants him to do. So if he's just blocked off an escape route there. You can't go left. You have to go right. So you have to go onto that back left hand of Crawford. So he's setting you up all the time with the footwork. And when he's in the orthodox position, he uses that front foot to put you under pressure, to force you to throw. Yeah. Even when he's not throwing, he forces you to throw when you don't want you. And he does that with great effect.
OK, so he's got some great strength and attributes, but occasionally he can get caught. So let's have a look at here. I think he holds his feet just occasionally and gets caught with the right hand there. Look, he comes forward, makes the odd mistake, his feet come a little bit square, Ben, and he gets caught with the odd shot like there.
Yeah, I think this is what we're going to have to... At the start of this fight, it was a very good chess match, and Benavidez is actually a good counter-puncher himself. I think he was a little bit static on his feet, so Khan can take some positives from this fight as well, for sure.
So a few chinks in the armour, but not many. Thanks, guys. And next we're going to hear from the man himself, Terence Crawford.
You know, there's a lot of things that he can come in the ring and do that we're going to be prepared for. He can move. He can come forward. He can try to trade with me. He could try to hit and hold. There's a number of things that he can do to try to frustrate me. But like I said, we're going to be prepared for everything that he brings come fight night.
So can you show me now in the ring again how Terence Crawford is going to win this fight against Amir Khan?
We'll have a go. So Crawford, big favourite. So what do you do? Let me do. This is what I think about Amir Khan. He's going to be on his toes, plenty of feet, and darting in, pushing forward. So what do Crawford do?
I feel like Crawford he'll use his front hand to create more distance between him. When Khan rushes in, He'll adjust his distance and let Khan rush onto the shot. That's why I feel that Khan's got to be clever, got to be smart. So while Khan's doing this, I think he needs to maybe feint downstairs and come back out and make Crawford
come back
bite.
out.
Come
So
back out.
feint and come out.
Show him it come out. And he might be able to bite that. So if you feint me downstairs, take a step back, he might draw that from Crawford and then make him pay. He's got to be a step ahead of Crawford.
So when he does that, when he feints there and draws out and you throw the lead, does he come back with the 3?
That's
Boom,
where,
boom,
yeah,
boom,
use his speed.
and
That's where he
across?
wants to use his speed. He can't use his speed from too far out and forcing things because he will run into shots. If he tries to force things from there, Crawford's going to step back and make him pay. So I think that it's important that he draws that out of Crawford and then makes him pay with his speed.
So what does Crawford do to counteract that? So Khan comes in now, it's hard to read, comes in, throws the punches, tries to get close or tries to turn him.
Yeah, for Crawford then, if Khan's using lots of feints himself, that's where Crawford's IQ is going to match back. He's got to now feint him back, so when he feints him, he's got to make sure he doesn't overreact, he's got to show different looks to Crawford, and I feel like it could be a very good chess match.
So what if the roles reverse, and you said that Khan might try and push him back. What if he decides, I'm going to take the back foot here, I'm going to move and feint from distance, and Crawford's got to engage?
Crawford can box coming forward, he is clever, and I feel like sometimes, like what we're talking about there, which we saw a few times, Crawford will revert to a full guard, and then if it's important that if he does do that and Khan does start having success, that he doesn't get too greedy, he doesn't stay there, he needs to come off at an exit, walk off, reset. And that's one thing that Crawford's very good at. If Crawford's on the back foot, he'll keep resetting you. So it's a very high level IQ boxing match.
He sits on that back foot and he goes boom, boom. And for me, he's probing for distance and judgment of distance, isn't he?
And what he's also doing is if you switch round, he's actually throwing the jab, waiting for the counter. So he'll throw it, but purposely throw it short, waiting for the counter. So he'll throw, you counter, and then he'll make you pay for the counter, which we saw him do over and over with Benavidez. He'll throw short, throw, and counter over the counter. So he manipulates you to throw in what he wants you to throw.
And where we've seen Amir Khan, obviously against Danny Garcia and certainly against Alvarez when he got knocked out, with horrible knockouts, it's when he's throwing.
But what Khan actually done, if we switch around there, what Khan was actually doing was, both times he was drifting to his left, but he was going back foot first. He was doing this, and his feet becoming long, which naturally means you're on a tight line, but it forces you to lean over your front foot as well. And the front hand's here, which is slightly low. But leaning over the front foot is the main problem.
And then that right, yeah, of course, yeah. Well, literally,
when you're going with your left foot first, you can keep your weight back a little bit better. When you go back foot first, it naturally leads you to lean your weight onto your front foot.
So you literally got to remember to move the front foot first. The front foot is your direction.
It's just basics and fundamentals. Sometimes you have to go back and practice those things. And another thing that is important that we saw there was sometimes there's two ways to not get hit. It's either to be too far away or too close. Yeah. And sometimes Khan can revert into a full guard, but he can sit here, and with somebody with a variety of Crawford, it's not a good idea. So if he is going to close the gap up, he needs to make sure he's in tight, he needs to make sure his hips are in tight so that there's no room to work. Because if he leaves a little bit of room, Crawford's a master at creating just enough room, get his shots off, and get an exit.
And he gets acceleration and pace, doesn't he, Crawford? He sort of touches, but once he sees you there, you go.
He'll change his gear.
Go from going like that to going boom, 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 straight away. And I've noticed that he changes the tempo of his the way he throws his punches quite effectively. What I thought we can is he doesn't fight inside. Never has. Never learned it either.
And he doesn't like it, so that's why if he is in close, it's important that he's in close. He knows how, he understands how to clinch. He understands to get his hips in tight to leave no room for them to work in here. So he can't get any shots off. And the adjustment for Crawford there is to get his head into position, his hips back. And if he does that, Khan needs to get side on so his hips are in tight, not allow any room between the two of them.
So it's pretty much, for Crawford, you just got to get lower than Khan. So
if we're in close and I want to work, I need to create space here. Yeah. So I'll get my hips back and it's my head into position to work. And Crawford understands that and knows how to do that. So for Khan, he needs to know how to smother that if Crawford makes that adaptation. So he needs to get side on and get his hips in tight.
So in summary, for Khan to win, it's plenty of feints, darting.
I just think that it's very important to Khan that he puts solid work in before he throws and knows what he's going to do after he throws. And if he can maintain that for 12 rounds, he stands himself in a much better position.
Well, that's how we see it.
Really interesting stuff. Thanks, guys. Well, that's all we've got time for this week, but we're really looking forward to an exciting fight that's bound to keep fight fans on the edge of their seats. Crawford Khan, April 20th, BT Sport box office. Don't miss it.